Welcome to Maker Conversations. I'm your host, Tiff Marchand from Carver Designs. And today on the show, I have Adam Barnett from Barnett Builds. He's also the man behind the Rockler account. So if you feel like you know him and you're not following him, that is probably why. Adam and I got to sit down and hang out for an hour, which I was truly excited about because, as you'll hear, we first met at Maker Camp, and there was absolutely no way we were able to talk during that event as I was working the Saburrtooth power carving booth, and we were just insane all day long. Speaking of that, head on over to the Maker Camps page and buy a ticket if you haven't already, because we're going to be having an insane amount of fun at our booth in Saburrtooth. We actually have a bigger tent this year, and Cecilia from the shop Wood Design is going to be joining us. We also have something pretty amazing going on at Saburrtooth. I kind of hint to it a little bit during this episode, but now I can talk about it because it is launching tomorrow. It is the new Carve With Us competition, and this one is Halloween themed. And you guys know I love Halloween. I love all things spooky and scary. So I hope you can join me and have some fun and get carving. If you want to save some money and grab some bits right now, you can use NightCarver10 in all caps to save 10%. And I hope you join us. It starts on August 1st through August 31st. The theme is Halloween. I can't talk anymore. Halloween decor. And you can make whatever you want. That's the cool thing. So it can be as little and as large as you want. We removed the restriction of the size because we did hear back that people wanted to go big, and we have 2 different categories. So if you're new to carving and you don't want to go against these professionals, I totally get it. We now have a newbie and a professional category, and you're going to have to select one of those when you submit your carving for the competition. We've got a newsletter announcement coming out tomorrow, so make sure you hang out at the Saburrtooth page and sign up for that newsletter. And I am so excited. I've got a brand new sponsor for the podcast. Starbond has joined us as a sponsor. They've given me a code to save you 15% on your purchases. So go show Starbond some love and use Carver15 in all caps to save 15% off of there. So thank you, Starbond, for coming on. They've got so many new things that they have been expanding their product line. So no longer do they just offer the CA glue, which we all know is tried and tested and amazing, but they have now offered a bunch of different products. So if you haven't seen that yet, go ahead, hang on over to their page because they've got some great stuff for inlays and a bunch of other things. All right, let's get to find out about Adam now. All right, on with the show. I did my mandatory stalking, as I do with everybody, and kind of just wanted to, I like to see when people start Instagramming, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's a point in either you all of a sudden start making, or you've been doing it your whole life, and then you just start Instagram all of a sudden. There's a very different, and for you kind of just started off with tables and benches, right? That was some of the first stuff that you started posting about.
Yeah. So I've been a maker my whole life,
Okay.
in various mediums, but 2020, I was a production manager in a shop that makes we build racks and flow racks, you set a cart down and it rolls down.
Yeah.
I'm in Metro Detroit, so a lot of the stuff was for the big 3, and I had gone to school for CNC machining because I worked at a shop prior to that. And I was trying to move up in that shop, and they didn't really want me to. So I went to school, and I was I don't belong in this shop anymore. And that's why I became a production manager of a different shop. And they had a CNC router, and I just came out of CNC classes, and I was like, hey, can I do some woodworking on this? And the owner was just like, no, we're not going down that road. And I was like, okay, I'm going to build a CNC machine in my garage. And that's the progression just started there. So I was renting that house, and that garage was just not fit. It had tons of stuff in there already from other tenants.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a full garage when I started renting there. And I had to chip at it and try to sell stuff and throw things away and just go through other people's mess and turn it into a shop. I insulated it and put up walls. I did all of that. I had to change the wiring.
Damn. But you wanted it. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I need a space to create.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I've always been an artist. Like I was that nerdy kid in high school, like carrying around a sketchbook, you know, and I don't know. It's just, I always have to have some type of creative outlet. And like I go in waves, I guess, was for a while. Like my dad was a woodworker, so I learned it young. And I was really into drawing and art, but then I was really into computers and learned CAD in high school and computer drawing and all that stuff, and was really into it. And then was photography and ceramics, and you know, so there was all these different mediums and everything. And then I was into music for a long time, so a lot of the art stuff like didn't happen. I was focused on music. And then, you know,
was it like an emo band? Because I see the hair.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I was
it was
as I was going through your page, I was laughing. I'm like, I was telling my husband, I was sitting on the couch just like scrolling through, and I'm like, oh my God, he's us, babe. Like, besides the emo thing, my husband is not like not an emo kid. But like I was scrolling, like, yep, nerd. Okay, yep, me too. Yep. Artist, like, because that's my story too. Like my dad was always a woodworker. My mom would paint the wood that he'd cut out, and like they would do stuff. And that's I grew up always drawing and having that notepad in your bag, because you have to, because you need paper just in case. You know,
an idea hits you, you gotta sketch it out.
Plus you can't be ruining all your notebooks with sketches, you know.
Right.
You gotta leave space for actually taking notes. I get it. That's really cool. So what brought you like to where you are now? Like why did you start the Instagram? Was it just because you noticed there was a community out there, or was it just like it was before COVID? It was like right before COVID.
Yeah, it was like right before COVID. So that year, that production manager job I had was it was a hard job. I was probably putting in 70 to 80 hours a week. And
got you.
I was just like, I need something out of here. But I just started scrolling on Instagram, and then, you know, you follow all the different art and everything. And I've always wanted to get back into woodworking. Like it was something that my dad did, and I took like shop class in middle school and made some stuff. And I was like, I want to do this, but I didn't have any tools at home.
Yep. And
I worked in machine shops and all these different places. Like I just had tools all day. So I'd go home and I didn't want anything to do with it, you know? But then I don't know, like as the production manager, I wasn't building stuff anymore. I'm just managing people. And I was like, I need something. So I just kept seeing, like, one of the biggest people that inspired me that I came across was Woodworks by Jared, just river epoxy tables and stuff like that. And I was really impressed with that. And I was impressed that he shared the information, because there was a lot of other pages that I followed, and I was like, how do you do that? How do you do that? And I'm reading through the comments and everybody's asking, but nobody's saying anything. And then I realized I was following a bunch of like fake accounts that just steal other people's stuff. And I was like,
oh yeah,
where's the actual maker? I want to find who made this and ask them questions and learn about them. So I kind of like found my way into the community that way, and was like, oh, there's a thing here. And my fiance Kim made some recordings of our daughter, and I was like, what app did you edit that in? Like, is it cheap? Is it easy? Like, what is it? And it was like some GoPro app. And I just downloaded that and was like, I'm going to make videos of the stuff I do and just share it. And I wanted to make a separate thing because I wanted to be an actual like side business. But then the pandemic hit, and it was like, oh, that shop shut down. I didn't have a job.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, well, I'm going to dig into this.
That's really crazy. So what happened after that? Like, did you just do the business for a while, or did you have to get another job in the medium? Like, how'd that all work out for you?
Yeah. I did have to go back to work. So the machine shop that I worked in before the production, I had to go back to, and that sucked.
Yeah.
You know, they called me though. Like, I didn't call them like, hey, can I come back? They called me and they were like, hey, are you working right now? We're still open through COVID. And they did a lot of like government jobs and military stuff. So it was just like, don't stop for them. And I was like, all right. So I had a job and everything, but I didn't stop the woodworking. It's the first medium and art and thing that I found a community in. And I love it the most, I think. Like, I can it checks all the marks for me, like all the drawing and the computer drawing and the design and all the different stuff that I do with epoxy and the CNC machine. Like it just, I don't know, I can't stop. I'm so in love with woodworking and how I can incorporate everything into it.
Well, the best part about it is you can do something so different every time you do it, like you can completely shift. You can make some fine like furniture piece and then you can go make a really cool sign. You know what I mean? And like take your time and enjoy that. I try to put my hat in so many little things and then like you can only have so much time to do it all. So it's so hard. You like try to just squeeze it out a little bit. You're like, I do want to do this.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things. Like you fall into the community and like you just want to let it consume your life. Like all I want to do is talk to other makers and make stuff and then talk about what I made with other makers and then hear what they're making and make more.
It's addicting.
Yeah. Problem solving. I love that aspect of it. And everybody's like, hey, how would you do this?
Yeah, no, it's great.
That resource too.
I had someone ask me today, like he's making an outdoor sign for his very first time and like ask for advice. And it's so nice to be able to like answer those questions for people now. Yeah. Like I'm not the newbie doing it anymore and I get to give advice. That is so rewarding,
Yeah. I remember one of the first times I thought about that, like in woodworking, because I did like the machine shop stuff and like was kind of manager and was always training people, even when I wasn't the manager. Like I just like sharing information and knowledge. And like, I want everybody to be the best at whatever they're doing. And especially in a job, the people next to me, if they're doing a great job, then we're all like, my job's easier. We're all going to win if everybody's educated on it. So I was always like that. And then in the woodworking, like I had knowledge of woodworking and, it's similar to pretty much everything I've always done. And my dad was a woodworker. So once I like fully came back into the woodworking, it was, very quickly people started asking, they're like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do this? And I was like, oh, I have all the answers to these things. I'm like, that feels really good.
So rewarding. It's like, oh,
yeah,
no, absolutely. It's just so nice. And like the way people respond, I think is like, they're so happy that you're willing to share that information. You know how you were saying, like you were finding the bot accounts that were just, resharing things. And then when you actually find the person and they're willing to give that knowledge, it works both ways. Like both people are just getting so much fulfillment out of that. So it is a balance, like, having a family and then being so absorbed into that. It's tough. Like I try to, put my damn phone away, it's like,
Kim's always yelling at me for that.
I'm sure.
And it's like, I don't know. I want to talk to you about, I want to hear about all of your stuff too.
Like I said, ask whatever you want.
It's like a double-edged sword because now my day job for Rockler, I'm doing social media moderation all day and that consumes me. Like I work from home, which is amazing. And it's a gift that I never had in my life. So it's like, I am so grateful for it. I'm more present with my family and it's still hard to find that balance though, because
it is.
I work and then they get home like right when I'm done and I'm pretty much like half the day is on the computer. And then some days it's all day on the computer and I don't really get to go out to the shop, but I still have Barnett builds. And I can't find the balance to make all three things happen: family, work, and Barnett builds. So I feel like something's always trying to outbalance something else. And right now I'm just like, with all the changes on Instagram and how it just feels different on there right now. And like, I don't know, the day job has me stressed out. I'm like, I'm tired of the internet. So Barnett Builds is kind of like just falling to the side right now. I'm trying to keep up with orders and it's just like, I don't know. That's the thing. It's better that is suffering than my actual day job and my family, you know? So
Night Carver is always my sacrifice. If I can't, and Maker Conversations, like I know those are disposable, like they are amazing. And, they fulfill me so much, but they're not the things paying the bills, like Saburrtooth and Workbench Con are paying the bills. So I have to focus, on what is giving me money right now and then my family. So yes, it's a really hard balance. So this summer with the kids home, with me, I have twin boys and they're 7.
Okay.
They are upstairs essentially all day, and I go in and I check on them, so if I'm in the basement working on like it's a computer day, I have to keep going up and down, up and down. They get restless, they fight, it's like madness all day. And then if I'm in the garage, for some reason, they're slightly better, but the interruptions are just constant, right?
Yeah.
So I started from 12 to 2. I take a 2-hour break and we go do something. We go swimming, we play video games, we do something, because like it calms them. And then they're good until my husband's done working. And I just work later now. Like I go back to work at like 7 or something to 8 or 7 to 9, just to get a few more hours in. Like that's how I've been dividing it. But it is nice to have such a flexible schedule that I can kind of mix it up like that,
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool that you're finding a balance like that.
I'm trying.
It is nice having like a flexible schedule like that. Rockler's pretty flexible with me. So like we're in different time zones, because I'm basically working with like headquarters people. And there is like an hour difference, which
Where
actually
are they based out of?
Minnesota. So they're like Minneapolis area.
Okay.
Medina is the actual place. I don't know. I've never been there.
I've never been to Saburrtooth, so I get it.
Yeah. So how did you end up going from Night Carver to doing people's social media?
I kind of two different things, I guess. We'll start with Saburrtooth first, I guess. I was doing Night Carver, I was making signs, and I was doing custom orders constantly, right? So I was overwhelmed. Like every day after I got out of work, because I had worked in a day job that I had to drive to and then come back, and there was an hour commute each way. And then I have kids. And so I'd come home, I'd like, thank you for watching the kids. Everybody finally gets to sleep a little, and then I'd go in the shop every night for 2 hours. Like that was my ritual. And then I eventually called myself Night Carver Designs. Get it?
Got it.
It's because I was carving at night. I was like, makes sense. I'm not that clever with that kind, like naming things. So yeah, every night from 8 to 10, I carved, and I was just making money for us. And I really loved it. It reminded me of when I used to, like, when I was single and didn't have kids, I would just make every day after work. Like that's what I would just do. So now, like, I couldn't make as much. I still was fitting it in. I loved it. And after a while, I started building this community. I started doing the podcast because I wanted to hang out with other makers. So like I started Behind the Maker podcast. And then as that continued, I got really into the maker community. I started noticing other makers getting jobs with brands. Matt from Got Wood is the first one I noticed, because he works for Tools Today now. So I saw him and transitioning into that. And I was like, oh shit, that's a possibility. So I go to my husband, I'm like, makers are starting to work for brands, babe. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, I wonder if there's a brand out there that I could like get with. Right. And that was just like an idea I floated with him. And he's like, that's cool. Because he knows I hated my day job. Like I absolutely hated it. It was miserable. I was in Excel all day, and I was doing direct mailing advertising to the entire nation, like just Domino's and Papa John's. Like those are my clients. Like very boring. I was staring at pizza all day. And my friend pointed out that Saburrtooth hasn't posted in 2 months. And I was like, whoa, really? Saburrtooth stopped posting. That's interesting, right? So I approached them and I'm like, I was like, hey, I noticed you haven't posted in a while. No response. Found an email, of course. They had like an automatic reply. So I emailed Jody on there and I was like, hey, Jody, I'm Tiff. I think I could really help you out. I would love to take over your social media. And like, when she gave me the chance, because they were like, we don't have room for advertising. We don't have a budget for it right now. And does it really matter? Like they asked, like, does it even matter if we're posting? And I was like, oh no, it matters. I'm like, you might have a following right now from word of mouth, but eventually people are going to forget who you are. Like if you're not sharing their work, there's going to be no brand loyalty. People hang out with the brands that are sharing their work, that are communicating with them, that are cheering them on, you know?
Yeah.
So once I got that pitch, she gave me a chance. I literally was like getting paid like so tiny bit, like $15 a day type of situation. And I was
Yeah.
working my ass off, but it was okay because I'm just building trust because they didn't know if they needed me, you know? So I started doing it. They started realizing it was working. And then I kind of just like, you know, we kept talking and we're month by month the plan changed. And eventually I came in and every month it changes. It's kind of fun. Like I never know what I'm going to be doing each month. And I kind of love that, but I know like there's a guarantee that I'm going to be doing something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
that's kind of like Saburrtooth, like next month. And I think I can talk about it, although we haven't really planned it yet. Carving contest.
Nice.
So, you know, we're starting to plan on things like that. And we're trying to like have a lot of fun and get that community engaged. Like I met you doing a Saburrtooth event, you know, so it's like really cool the things that have been happening just working with them. And they're so cool. They love the community and they're always trying to like help other makers, you know.
Yeah.
So it's so fun to be part of that. So that's how I kind of got into Saburrtooth. The first time they trusted me with something very big was the maker camp before the one I met you at.
Yeah.
I said, hey, would you be willing to send me a bunch of tools if I go and carve on a picnic table at maker camp? I'm like, just have impromptu carving classes. And like I did the same thing to Works Tools and I did the same thing to Alpha 6 Paint. And I got all of them to say yes. So I held a carving class every day, like the 2 days at Maker Camp for about 3 to 4 hours. We carved on picnic tables. We painted those carvings and then everybody went home either with, I think I was doing campfires. I did a bunch of campfires. So everybody got the carve a campfire sign and then paint it. So,
cool.
and pride flags. Yes. Yeah. So we did that. It was just so fun. And then the next year I talked to them and I'm like, let's go bigger to Maker Camp. Like, let's have a real blast. Let's get people carving longer all day. And, you know, they trusted me and I got to head that up last year with Sadie from the Awesome Orange. She was a blast and we got to teach so many people. And it was just so exciting. So like that just keeps growing and like we're going back again. And this time Cecilia from the shop Wood Design is going to show people how she does all her really cool, intricate waves and stuff. And we're going to teach people about the burrs. And then Jody should be there. And then we're actually going to have a videographer come because it was really hard because I was trying to do it all. I was trying to run social and teach people carving and then also talk about the tools. Right. So I was tapped out, you know,
spinning 7 plates.
I made it happen. We got a reel posted every day, but it was exhausting.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Maker Camp. Last year was my first time. Like Rockler said a couple things once because I started and was like, hey, like a month from now, I'm going to Maker Camp. So I'm going to need some time off. And they were like, okay. And then I was like, man, I hope they don't want to do an event there because then I'll have to work Maker Camp. And I'm like, but it doesn't align with what Rockler's focused on right now to like go and do any classic kind of things. Like, so they're kind of like, I don't know, more focused on like beginner information right now. Okay. So they're putting together like a whole how-to series kind of thing and, you know, trying to revamp. That makes a lot of
sense though. You want to get newbies into it. You want to get new people addicted to woodworking.
Yeah. And that falls into that brand loyalty thing. Like, you know, Rockler has all the classes at every store and everything. And that's why I was kind of like, is Rockler going to end up here? Because it makes sense to me, but they were just, I was like, you know, is that something you guys are into? Like at least like having a banner and something there. And they were like, no. I was like, okay, I'm going to drop this because I don't want to ruin my Maker Camp experience.
I'd be like, do you want to just send me? I'll wear all the Rockler gear.
Right?
You know,
you pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would pitch. And I'm not even joking.
I don't know. I really want to hold on to Maker Camp as just a vacation for me. Like,
yeah,
I
you
really
already
do.
have Workbench Con now that you're working.
Yeah,
so
that's so much work. Oh my gosh.
What day did you get there? Did you get there on Wednesday to set up, or did you guys get there on Thursday to set up? Thursday, right?
We got there Thursday morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just straight to it. It was a lot of work.
I learned to come on Wednesday because like it's insane, like trying to land, get there, get your hotel, then start working. You're like, no. By the time you get going, you're like, this is awful. So I get it. Yeah. That's great though. So was that your first workbench con or was that?
Yep.
Okay. So you're checking all the boxes off this last year.
Yeah. I mean, like the pandemic and getting out of that and still having like a machine shop job and still trying to figure out how to balance everything. And Kim and I were engaged, but we had 2 separate houses, and that made things really complicated because I was renting a house and my boys had moved in with me, and that was kind of like the whole thing was like I planted my feet so that they didn't, because with their stepdad and their mom,
so they have
moved
a solid
around.
base.
Yeah, so they kind of like grew up and then like we're moving on kind of thing. So it was like, okay, I don't need this place anymore. So I was like, but I need a shop. I'm like, I can't just stop now. Like, what do I do with this? And Kim's garage was unfinished and it was, kind of her storage area and yard stuff. And I was like, can I have that? But it started out with like, you can have half. She still wants to park her car in here. And I feel terrible, but that doesn't happen.
But you at least get her a carport.
I'm working on it. Yeah. I want one before, like, because we're in Michigan, like winter is a lot of snow. So I want to figure out a carport thing outside.
I really want one too. No, I do. I'm like, a carport would solve so many problems. Like for outdoor carving too, I could just wheel myself outside, make a mess, wheel back in,
Yep.
Not have the sun on me.
Right. Yeah. We're thinking about the carport thing too, because she does ceramics.
Cool.
I kind of fell out of ceramics for a while because like you got to like pay to have a place to go to kind of thing. So I was out of that and she stayed in, and like we just couldn't balance both of us going multiple times a week to do that, because like you got to make the stuff wet and then let it dry out, but not too dry. And so you need like all these different days of time. So I was like, I'm like, don't stop. You go. I can watch the kids anytime you need to go to the studio. So now we're making a space in the basement. We've like finished half of the basement. And the other half we just kept concrete, and we're setting up. She bought her own wheel, and we're looking at getting a kiln. And that's why we want the carport too. I want to put the kiln on wheels so that I can roll it right outside of the garage, and it'll be covered and won't get rained on or snow or whatever. And it's, it's a lot of heat, and I don't know if I should have a kiln in a wood shop, so it's like, we should probably roll this outside.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And that's awesome that she's going to get a kiln and a wheel. Like,
yeah.
So you're going to fall right back into ceramics, watch.
Oh, I know I am.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons I changed because I started out as Barnett Custom Woodworks. And then I was like, this is dumb because I do metal work, I do ceramics, I do like, there's so many other things. Like I shouldn't have called it woodwork, custom woodworks. And I wanted to get away from commissions too. So it was like, I'm changing this to Barnett Builds. I'm Barnett, I build stuff.
I was Marchand Custom Woodworks. I get it, dude. I get it.
Yeah.
I was also Boutot
Night
Designs.
Carver's cool name,
yeah. Night Carver is so badass. And then like I was like, I want a zombie hand as my logo. Like as like, nice. And then like it just developed to like a zombie hand with a CNC bit. Like it just like kept going. So yeah.
I remember before you had a CNC machine and we're doing everything by hand. That blew me away. I remember leaving so many comments on your page, like, you need a CNC machine.
Everyone did. I was getting links sent to me like of X carves constantly. Like I literally got a reminder. It was like, you got an X carve this many years ago, because like I love the hand router carving, but my back and my neck, plus our kids, they were 1 year old and they weren't sleeping in bed because they would cry. They only wanted to sleep on me on the couch. So
Oh
I
man.
literally was sleeping on the couch every night after carving for 2 hours. And I was
Wow.
like, I got to get the CNC that everyone's yelling at me to get.
How was that transition going from doing everything by hand to like having to computer design your art?
So luckily I have a degree in graphic design. So I'm also,
Perfect.
I'm also a
Okay.
computer savvy person. I don't do like a lot of the CAD stuff that you guys all do, like the real technical things or like 3D carvings is that yet,
Mhm.
but I'm going to push myself into it. I just got Carveco, so I'm going to play
Okay.
around with that. And like, they gave me like a whole little, they're so nice. I had a project I wanted to do and I couldn't figure out how to make it myself. They sent me a video to walk me through all the steps. I still haven't watched the video,
Nice.
but I have that video. And like, how sweet is that? So I'm going to be playing around with them.
That's awesome.
It's just people that like, they liked my art and they reached out to me and I was like, well, I'll try it. Yeah. I can push myself to that. Yeah. But like, so the CNC was a nice,
Yeah.
the CNC was a nice adjustment. The laser, I have been having the hardest time adjusting to it. But I literally talked to Boss Laser today and they like held my hand through all my questions. So I'm feeling more confident for tomorrow. I was
Nice.
like, because yesterday I had like I won't lie, I had like a meltdown over the laser because I couldn't figure out the simplest thing. And it was because they have bad videos on their website. There's
Mhm.
nothing that covers how to do
That's the worst.
this super simple thing. So I pitched them some ideas about me making videos too. But like this the simplest
Right?
thing. I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I like exploded about it. But I'm finally feeling better. I'm feeling better. So how did you get the
That's good.
job for Rockler? Because I'll fill you in on Workbench Con after, but how did you get the Rockler gig?
It's a great story.
You
I
applied for a
applied.
job. You
Yep.
applied.
I was on Instagram and I was flipping through stories and it was just an ad in between stories and said, "Hey, we're looking for social media moderator and we're open to remote." And I was like, I want out of this machine shop so bad. And I was supposed to be like, when that happened, I was supposed to be like leaving and I was like playing on my phone, waiting for Kim and Daisy. And I was like, I got to apply for this right now. And I
Mm-hmm.
started doing the application process. I'm like, oh God, this is so long. And I'm just doing it and doing it. And Kim's like, we got to go. And I'm like, I
We can't
have
go.
to. Yeah. I was like, if I got to throw my name in the hat. And if I don't, I'm going to regret it. And I'm like, if I saw this, that means all of America saw this. Like, I got to just fill this out right now. And it's pretty funny. It turns out only 3 other people applied and
Wow.
I don't know who they are. I don't want to know.
No, that would suck because it's somebody in our community, probably.
Right.
You
That's what
know,
I'm thinking.
I would, I
But
would, I would assume. But that's crazy. Only 3 people applied. Maybe nobody saw it.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but I guess what they said was the other people that applied weren't very qualified.
Gotcha.
And I don't know. I've just had such a weird mix of backgrounds.
Yeah,
Like
you're the perfect fit for it.
I worked in Guitar Center for like 5 years. So I understand retail sales and I moved up in management there. But I also worked in operations and I understood like shipping, receiving, all that stuff. And they integrated like internet sales at that same time. And I helped with that. So I understood like there was just like all of that I knew, and then management and time management and all those things. And I don't know, it just was like checked all the boxes. It's a dream come true. It really is.
That's so cool. So yours it's full time with Rockler then, because you're managing
Yep.
so many stores, right?
I'm not dealing with stores.
Well, I mean, like people are tagging you from other things. Are they doing event stuff, or they have their own Rockler for each store?
No, it's
okay.
So Rockler is not a franchise like Woodcraft.
Oh, okay. I feel like there's
Woodcraft
more.
Is our enemy.
We didn't say that name. We can cut that name out. Woodcraft.
No,
what?
Woodcraft is a franchise. So
okay.
Like it gets really confusing with their Instagram. Like different stores will have their own.
Yeah. Okay. So that's who I saw with all those. Okay.
Yeah, which it bugged me. Like before.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's super weird. Like where I live, I'm like right in the middle of a Rockler and a Woodcraft. And I would go to the both and I'm like, I kind of like Rockler more because that Woodcraft, I go in and like I don't know, because it's just run by those people and there's no like larger picture. It just was like, I don't know. It felt old and musty to me.
It is old and musty.
Yeah. And then I'm like trying to tag them every time I go there. And I'm like, I can't figure out how to tag them and like which store is there. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But Rockler is family owned. And like dad started it. And then his daughter went to school and she is a monster of a human. And she just learned business and went home and she goes, Dad, we're opening a store. Because he was working out of his garage, just buying parts and sourcing them. And like their woodworkers couldn't get just like the one hinge they wanted. You had to buy in bulk and like where you just couldn't figure out where to get it. So he started buying all this stuff and then individually packaging every single thing and had everything in his garage.
Smart.
And he was just shipping stuff. So like the Rockler woodworking and hardware, that hardware is like, that's the heart. Like they really, you know, that touches something there. But his daughter, Nordy was his name, Nordy Rockler. And then his daughter took over and was like, we're opening stores, and then just grew it all. So all the stores and the internet and everything, it's all one house. So there's
That's
one
good.
Instagram
I like that.
and so it makes it easier to tag things, but I don't know.
Well, that's cool. Well, I assume there's a lot of people though tagging you every day or messaging you questions.
That's a full-time job. Because we use like a social media moderation program, so it funnels like all the different apps into one thing. So I don't have to like, well, I still do somewhat, but I can do the majority of everything in one app on the computer. And
that's
then
cool.
I can respond to most things and reply and do everything in that program. But it's a lot. And I guess like, I don't know, the people that they had doing the job before me were just like, they were like, hey, you do this. And they were just like, okay. You know, so like they weren't plugged into the community and they weren't woodworkers, and I don't know. So
they were just posting the sale for that week.
Yeah. That's kind of like what it was. And I remember that from before I worked there too. Like I tagged Rockler a lot because I didn't care for that woodcraft. And I was at Rockler weekly, you know, just bugging the crap out of them. But the team there, like I became friends with them. Like I'd walk in, they were like, hey, Adam. I was like, hey, like, you remember my name? Like,
that's so funny.
You know, like you get really loyal like that.
Shucks, guys.
But I would tag them and they never responded. Sorry, you were freezing. I was talking over you.
Oh no, that's totally, no, you're fine. That's crazy though. Like, so you're like, I say hi to you, you know my name, and you guys won't share my shit.
That's kind of how it felt. But then I guess the fact that I didn't stop tagging them for, you know, like years, even though they would kind of like put a heart in there, double tap something, you know, but like not really like reshare things. That never happened or anything like that. But then when I applied for the job and like started talking to them, they're like, oh yeah, we know who you are. We know. I was like, oh wow, really?
We see you.
That's cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah. That's what I like about the job, is that I get to be that person that interacts, you know, because I know how that felt when a brand sees you. It's like, oh, and then there's loyalty with that, but there's also a relationship that forms and friendship. And that's like the most important part of all of this, is like the relationships that we form, and like the community just keeps growing, and it's more friends and more friends. And it's different than like anything else on the internet. Like all the makers, I don't know, we're just made different. Makers are made different.
It's so special. No, it is.
Yeah.
It's
warm.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's just so crazy. Everybody just wants to be seen, first of all, and we see them. Like the maker community shines light on everybody. Like it doesn't matter how many followers you have. People with 200,000 followers are following accounts with 800 followers because they know the person, they've met the person, they've talked to them, they've formed a relationship over that person, going back and forth with them in their DMs, you know, like, or even just comments, you know what I mean? Like you're saying, you were commenting to me, go get a CNC, you know, like those comments though bond you with people. You start laughing about that because it's like, yeah, I know I should.
Yeah.
I'm out here struggling with a neck ache. I should really hang my 3 routers that I still have like on like a special mount, even though I do use them occasionally, but like
Mount
they've
them
been
like
kind of,
deer heads.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like a little whoop.
Little shield plaque
Yes,
thing.
exactly. Yeah,
That's
it has to be
hilarious.
shield shape. I should. It has to be gold, you know. Got to really make it like an honor to be on that mount.
Right.
All right, we got a project for me for one day.
Yeah,
Would be
there
funny.
you go.
I like
It's
that.
like gold records mixed with
yes.
like dead animals. I don't know. I don't know. It kind of fits like night carver.
It works. It works. I have a witch hanging up in my shop. It would just add to the decor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make them look like zombie routers now.
Yes, I should. Did you see Ricky TV's monster saw? He did his circular saw, and he had someone. Do you know Ricky? I don't know if you know Ricky at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you said that, I'm like, why hasn't that popped up in my feed in a while?
It's amazing. He hired an artist to take his miter saw plate, not miter saw, I'm sorry, circular saw, and create like a zombie monster on it.
Oh, wow.
So when he's sawing, it's like a zombie's cutting through the wood now. And
that
now
awesome.
He's been putting googly eyes on all his tools. So
googly eyes are fun.
I think he's leaning towards the PB Herman, love of his. And he's really just diving in because he's working.
He made the chair, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was one of the last projects I saw from him.
Yep. Time to go stalk him a little bit so he shows up in your feed again.
Yeah. That's the other thing that bugs me about Instagram is like, you have so many friends. How do you consume that much content? Like it's hard. It's so hard. That's something that I do like about my day job is I'm very plugged into the community, but the downside of that is I'm only plugged into the community that's tagging me and interacting with Rockler. And, so there's not really much like, I don't have time to just like scroll and consume content. It's, I'm answering everything and dealing with stuff. And then plus I have to deal with customer service sides of things too, and marketing. So we got to know what we're posting. So there's a lot of meetings and stuff I'm in. So it's like, I don't know. That's the thing that bugs me is like, I get off work and I want to consume content and see all my friends, but it's like, I got stuff to build and I have family time. It's tough, but
I 100% get that. I feel like I am like a ghost on my page as like Night Carver. Like I just followed you. I had no idea I wasn't following you on Night Carver because I was following you on Saburrtooth, on a Workbench Con, and on Maker Conversations. So I was laughing. I kind of was like, boop earlier.
I did notice that today.
I was like, I swore I'm following this guy. I see him all the time. But it's because I'm being paid to look at Workbench Con's feed or, you know what I mean? So I'm in there. Yeah. It's just so funny that like, you don't have an idea because like when you are paid to look at things, you have no clue who you're following at the end of the day. Yeah. Like it's insane.
It was weird taking over the Rockler Instagram, and like my Instagram had like 17,000 followers, which is a lot. And I'm following probably like 1,000 something people, which is a lot. And then I step into the Rockler Instagram. It's like, okay, here, you run this now. Okay. I had, when I started, 204,000 followers. That's what their account was at. And now it's at like, I think we're up to like 11 or 12, 212, something like that. I don't know, but it's grown a lot. And I guess like a lot of that has to do with, me being plugged into it, which is what they wanted. And, I do take a lot of pride in that. Like, sure, it's a job that, I'm a content creator. I'm an influencer. Like, I hate those names or whatever, but I take a lot of pride in that. Yeah.
It's a job title.
But I take a lot of pride in the fact that it's growing, and that like, I hear people saying like, oh yeah, Rockler, something's changed. Like people started commenting that like after like a month or two of me being there, I started seeing a lot of comments, and that felt really good,
Yeah.
But it's like, I think they're following like 6,000 people. I'm like, who follows this many people? And then I started looking at it, and they must have like in the beginning, I don't know, that like the other people that were running the accounts must have just been following their friends or something.
Oh, really?
And there's so much like, I'll just like every day I try to spend 5 minutes. That's it. Scrolling in the the feed of Rockler's feed. And I'm like, not woodworking, unfollow. Not woodworking, unfollow. Not woodworking.
No, you have
unfollow.
to. You want to be able to highlight the people that deserve to be highlighted.
Yeah. I really want that feed to be curated exactly like my personal one. Woodworking's all I see. Like it's makers, it's woodworking, ceramics, it's all making, metal workers and forgers and all that stuff. Like that's all I see. But I go on the Rockler account and I was very confused at first. I was like, what is all this? And then I have like 6,000 friends. I'm like, how do I handle this?
When I took over the Workbench Con Twitter, which I feel bad, I don't do it very often, because she wanted to focus there. So I took it over and I'm like, who was running this account before? Because it wasn't you, Chris. And I'm like, was it a dude in his like mid-20s who really likes sports? And she's like, yep. I'm like, all right. Because it was just like all these things. I'm like getting such like a masculine feel when I got onto that account. I'm like, get off. Like he was just following everybody. He wasn't doing a good job, hence why he doesn't do it anymore. But like, it's like, what am I looking at right now? So yeah, you get the wrong person on an account like that, and that is what happens though.
Yeah.
I have the same pride seeing Saburrtooth grow. When I got it, I think there was 34,000 followers. And now I think there's 163,000 followers. So
that's amazing.
Like, it's because I shared somebody who was really talented and it went viral, but still, like, they haven't left. Only 2,000 people have left since that video went viral. So I'm like,
that's awesome.
They're staying. Like, they haven't. It was at Maker Camp when it went viral and like all the big followers came through. And I'm like, and they're still here. Like, that's incredible. Yeah. Like, they could have just left the next day,
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that, so
I definitely remember like when Saburrtooth came on my radar and it was small. And I think I remember being like, they don't really do much on their Instagram. And I don't do a lot of like hand carving stuff. I want to get into that now.
It's fun.
I have like a real shop here now. I don't know why I have everything blurred.
You can let it shine. You can show us if you'd like to show us because we can't see anything. There's the shop.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Like that was good timing for Rockler. Was like, you need to have your own shop, and I was like, I do, and it was at that house that I was renting, and it was gross, and I was like immediately just like super embarrassed. I'm like, this place is not show worthy. And I, like from all my jobs, and it was always like, I want everything to look awesome, especially like working retail. And then like in the machine shops, I always wanted to clean things up and have things organized and get things. I wanted to always make everything better. So I kind of did that in that shop for a while, but then I was just busy, Etsy went nuts and I was doing commissions also. And not really having like my whole family in one house and my boys, like, they were teenagers. They're like, yeah, whatever, Dad, we don't want to deal with that stuff. And like, they were just doing their own thing. So I was like, I just worked all the time and I was out in that shop and I didn't take enough time to make it what I wanted it to be. And it was good timing for Rockler because I was moving here and Kim was like, yeah, you can have the garage. So now I'm really proud of this place now. Like it's really turning around. And I took a week off like 2 or 3 weeks ago and I totally mixed this place up. Like, cause we just made that agreement. Like I love Kim so much. Thank you. If you listen to this, thank you so much for giving me more garage space. So like the CNC machine was taking up so much space and now it's moved over to where, I was reserving space for her car. And that just, the workflow just in the last 2 weeks is unreal. It's so awesome. Nice. Yeah. I'm really proud of this place. And there's so much more that I'm doing. Like by the end of the summer with everything that I want to do in here, it's going to be cool. And it's cool working for Rockler too, because, anything new, like I get a lot of stuff shipped to me.
Yeah.
I need to make videos on all this stuff. And I really need to have a Rockler outfitted shop. And it's fine with me, like.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I love Rockler stuff. So yeah. Yep. And they're doing a really good job, like switching over to, because things were just kind of like, okay, you run this department, you run that department. And like, so there was things like that just didn't make sense. Like there's a lot of stuff called bench dogs that that's a Rockler brand, but why not just call it Rockler? So now they're doing that. Like things are getting, everything that was like random colors, everything's becoming blue, everything's getting like streamlined, and they're like really cleaning it up. Everybody thinks Rockler's like this giant company. It is really small. It's like, I don't know, the people that are actually like running everything, it's like 50 people. Like, it's not this massive corporation or anything, which people think they are. And they're like, oh, why aren't you in Europe? Why aren't you in Canada? Like, because we're just trying to run these, the online sales, and there's like 50 stores, which is a lot. And now they're aggressively trying to open more stores and stuff. So it's, I don't know, it's cool, but yeah, everything's becoming blue, and a lot more blue is coming in here, and blue is my favorite color. So that just worked.
I would say that's perfect. Saburrtooth, I got the whole rainbow in my garage, but you know what? I really like it. Now that I painted the walls dark, it works out really well. So
yeah,
I've been doing the same thing. Like when I got, when I was getting ready to quit my job and knowing that I was going to do stuff in the basement, I took 3 days off of my day job, and I just redid this whole room in 3 days. Like,
yeah.
I knew the laser was coming, and I'm like, I'm not bringing that laser in here and then having to like remodel a room around the laser. Like, no way. And then when I did quit my job, like right before now I got to remodel the garage because I have to have a professional studio, so we did like round 1 of remodel, round 2, and now I'm at like round 3, where it's actually like, oh shit, look at this. It's coming along.
That's a good feeling too. Yeah. Like, not only just like, you're just proud of what you did, but like when you start working in an environment that's organized and everything has a home and it goes back to its home and you know where it is, you start saving so much time and you get jobs done so much faster. It's just, I don't know, there was machine shops that I worked in that were chaos, and like everything was always missing. Everybody was never putting anything away. So it was just, who knows how much time you're going to spend looking for one tool. And like that, what kind of efficiency is that? If I spend an hour looking for a tool, it's like, but you just spend 3 or 4 days, a week, whatever, organize it all. Now it's done, and it's like, it's hard. I don't know. That's one of the hardest things for me too, because I'm like super ADD brain, and like I'm always like fighting myself, this internal battle, like focus. And but now that I've done that in here, and I had to like slowly do it, because when I got this place and told Rockler like, hey, I'm moving shops, and they were like, oh, that's great. Like right from the get-go, they were like, well, let's plan content around that. And I was like, okay, well, they're like, tell us what you would love to have in your shop, and we'll see if that lines up with any of the stuff. So now we have like sales when things and new products that are coming out. So I've been waiting a very long time to get like real dust collection piped in here, and we were waiting for the dust collector that just came out, and it's here now. So it's gonna go right over there where that big piece of plywood is.
Fantastic. That's exciting. That's the next level right there.
Oh yeah, it's got a cyclone, so it's got 2-stage, and has the canister like right on the ground. I just roll it out, take the bag out, roll it back in. And it's gonna be awesome.
Dream.
Yeah.
I wish I had space for something like that. I really need to one day get a real shop, but I'm still battling it out with the 1-car garage and making it work. But yeah, I got a lot. I had to part ways with my bandsaw and my drill press to make my shop efficient for me. So I gave them to my father-in-law. Like, they're not gone. They're with family. They're with family. But I needed to, because I'm like, I'm never going to get to the next level of what I want this to look like and how I want to have it work in here if I don't like just take that leap of getting rid of those. And like, then I like got so many more new tools after that. So I've been like playing shuffle right now of trying to figure it out. Everything's going on wheels. So I'm in that process. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything on casters.
But yeah, no, I named my LLC 1-car garage because I thought it'd be fun. I go, because everybody starts off with a 1-car garage. So that's my LLC's name. My
first shop, that house I was renting, was a 1-car garage. And it was just, there was not space in there, man.
No.
And the first thing, before I had any of those tools, like when I started, I was like, because my boss told me, no, I can't use that CNC router. I was like, I'm going to build one. And I found a kit and it like 10,000 screws showed up and it was a lot of work, but it was good timing because the pandemic happened and I was home. But the first tool in my wood shop was a CNC machine. I did not have a table saw. I did not have.
That's fantastic. You're like, what made you want to get the CNC? Well, because you couldn't play with the one, or did you have like a project though that you had in mind?
Yeah, I had ideas. I wanted to play with epoxy really bad, and I started doing that at that job. Like I had a very, very small amount of some creative freedom, and I was like, hey, I'm going to try this. And I got epoxy, and I did that, and I did some CNC inlays, and I was like, I could do stuff because of my CNC knowledge and the artistic side of me. Like the pictures, I was like, I could do multi-layer epoxy inlays, and I really want to do that. And that's what the guy said no to, because he didn't, I don't know, just didn't. Mostly what we cut there was plastic. Yeah, mostly what we cut was plastic. And I don't know. He was a weird guy. But
sometimes you got to get told no, though, before you start something that you really want to.
Yeah. And honestly, it was being told no was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. No, you can't do that. And the type of person I am, I was like, yes, I can. Okay, I can't do it with you. I'll do it myself.
Yeah. Saburrtooth told me no 3 times before they hired me. I'm not joking. I followed up.
Yeah, it's been one of the best things that ever happened, right?
Yeah, it's been amazing. It set off a whole chain of events, because after I'll talk about Workbench Con really quick. I know we've already kind of like killed our hour. But like, so I got the gig with Saburrtooth. It was just starting to align right when Workbench Con was happening. And I had pitched Workbench Con like, hey, I have this podcast. We're 2 females in the making world, which is rare that have a podcast, like we want to go and we want to do an Instagram takeover, because I noticed they didn't have anything posting on their Instagram, and they're a content creating event, and nothing was being posted.
That's
so
hilarious.
I was like, so I didn't even tell my partner. I was like, are you cool with this if I pitch us? Like I was just like, is that cool? Are you down for that? And then I kept harassing Kristen, like I didn't hear back, because she had responded like, cool idea. That sounds great. I would love that. And then it went silent. And I was like, oh shit, what's going on? So I found like her, I found her number, I found her email, and I just kept going. And eventually like, she was like, yeah, let's do it. And then once it was like a week before Workbench Con, I was like, hey, do you mind if I just start running your account and like take it over early? Cause like I see people in their stories talking about Workbench Con like crazy. And I would love to be able to share that, because like, it's going nowhere. It's like there's so much excitement.
Build the hype.
Yeah, but nobody knows it's even happening. Like, let's share it. And she was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I trust you. Yeah, you can start early, Tiff. I'm like, all right, cool. So I did it. I did Workbench Con, and then I was only supposed to stop the last day of Workbench Con. But people were just sharing so many cool stories. And I text Chris and I was like, hey, do you mind if I just keep doing this and maybe stay on for a little bit longer, and we'll just figure out money in like 2 weeks or so. We'll just talk money, like I'll do it for free right now. Let me just do it. And I was just like posting away and just sharing and working for free, just kind of like the same thing I did with Saburrtooth, like working very cheaply. And I just built a relationship with Kristen, and I was like, let's keep going. And like, we just started talking. And then next thing I know, we're planning Workbench Con 2023 together, it's really awesome. Cool. And now look, we're working on 2024 now. So it's just so cool to say, like, if you're just brave enough to talk to somebody and be persistent, not like a jerk, but like have a real way that you can help them. I always say, find the gap with whatever company that you want to work with, find where they're lacking and pitch real viable ideas, and then actually execute. Like that's the thing. I was talking to my husband. He goes, you become a little snippy, a little cocky lately. I was like, maybe it's because I'm executing. Like I'm not taking on responsibilities and not following through, because that's the thing that immediately you do that. If you take a contract and you don't follow through with it, that just ruins your whole relationship with that company. Right. And other companies know each other and they talk about it, like, no, I got burned. Don't do that. Like, be careful there. Like, that's real. So like working hard and this is like a profession, like we were saying, like content creator, influencer, like it's a weird thing to call yourself, but they are professions and you have to be a professional in that to succeed.
It's paying the bills now, and 100%, like it's about relationships. Like that's what it is. And you know, I don't know. Like I used to suck at everything. I was a terrible person with no knowledge in my head. So I was like, I need to learn everything. So I started working on myself to be a better person and mature. And one of the biggest catalysts of that was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And like everything that you're saying and like all these conversations, it all, like after you read that, those are the 7 boxes. Like everything. I've
never read it. That's so funny.
It's amazing.
Good read.
Like, yeah. I'm not even great at reading, like consistently picking up books and getting to it. But like working in that machine shop, there was a lot of production that I had to run because everybody got fired and it was just me. Another reason I wanted to leave. So I was doing everything, but I'd just be doing like hours of like putting a part on, go, put a part on, go. So I just like, I'm going to start listening to books on tape. So I'm standing in a machine shop and like all these like, you know, weird, you can imagine the type of people that are in a machine shop. And it was just like, and they'd walk up and they're like, what are you listening to? And I was like, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah. And then I would literally share that information like every time I was listening to different things, but I would just get books on tape and tell them that. And like I missed sharing knowledge there too. And that was, I don't know, that's one of those things, like you try to form relationships, and I was in a place that like nobody wanted to, and I didn't want to be friends with a lot of them. You know,
I understand that. Yeah, I worked in the same place for 16 years, and there was just like a revolving, like we weren't in a factory or anything. It was all professional and day jobs, but they were all people very much not like me. Like, I was hired because I was an artist, because when we first started, we were just outsourcing to India, and they needed designers to be able to communicate how we wanted things laid out, what the meanings of things were, so they understood like the translations of like football and soccer, you know, simple things like that. So I was like one of those people who were there giving advice. And then as the years went on, my job, because we did so good at it, my job kept shifting and shifting and shifting. And it was no longer what I got hired for by the end. And I was just miserable. So it drove me out. So at work every day though, podcasts saved me. So I would listen to Side Hustle School. I don't know if you ever listened to that before. And I actually got to start picking it back up because it gave me so many ideas. Every day for, I think the guy's podcasts are only like 5 to 10 minutes long, very short. And he would interview somebody who did really well at what they were doing. So say somebody started a cookbook line or something, or somebody started making pita chips, like Stacy's pita chips. And they would talk about like how it started, what avenues they took, what things they did to become a success, and how you could also do that for yourself. Like, awesome. And it just kept giving you ideas every day. So that's why I think I have so many things where I'm like, oh, but you could. Oh, but what about this? Like listening to stuff like that. And then I started listening to maker podcasts and, you know, made for profit. Like I started listening to that because I was like, oh, I really like fix this, build that. Like I love, you know, Brad, I want to listen to his podcast. So I listened to that, you know, so certain things like led me to this, you know, and it's so cool. Like you said, relationships, community, like we all help each other so much, and it just keeps growing. And as brands start getting wise to hiring content creators to run their social medias, it's just going to be even better because they're going to understand the people they're working with. And like Starbond, they just hired such a cool person. I don't know if you've met them, but Amy's amazing.
I haven't, but I have noticed a very drastic change.
Yes, she is hilarious. She comments on things. Even if you didn't use Starbond, she's still building the community. And guess what? I'm going to be using more Starbond because of that, because I'm like, well, you know what? I could use this, but Starbond's so nice. I'm going to grab this instead and use that, you know, because we have options when we're working. There's always a different solution to fix something. So it does make you want to use something different because of the people who are running the account. Like, it's just really cool.
Yeah. I had a really good relationship with Starbond, but now that I work with Rockler, I I can't work with brands anymore.
Oh, okay. Like, that's interesting.
Like, you know, so, and
it limits you though, because if they don't have it, then what do you do?
Like, I don't know. I kind of regret getting into that. Yeah, they're paying me, and it's paying the bills, and it's a full-time job, and like I get that. But I definitely miss working with brands, and like Starbond was a cool one. That was one of my early ones where it was just like I bought it and I started using it, and they were like, "Hey, we love the videos you're making," and I was like, "Really? Like, can we share this?" I'm like, "Yeah!" Like, holy crap, you know, I had like 500 followers or something, and then they were like, "Hey, we're gonna send you some Starbond." I'm like, "For free?" Like, what? Yep. Hashtag influencer.
Yeah. I told my husband, I'm like, today I'm officially an influencer. He's like, why? It's like, I just got tagged in a Bora Porta-Cube thing. A guy said thank you to me for sharing it. I was like, it's just really cool though. But I was like, it's just funny. Like, that's guaranteed proof that somebody bought something, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's fun. I definitely like the like joking about the influencer thing with other content creators and stuff. And it's fun now that I work for Rockler. So I'm showing stuff in my Barnett Build stuff and like with my friends in the community. And then I'll see on the Rockler page, like they bought that thing that we were talking about. And then I'm just always using hashtag influenced.
Did you? That's funny.
All the time.
That's really funny. I kind of want to do that to people now.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious. Like you talk about something to somebody and then they buy it and you're just like, I'm an influencer. Hashtag influenced.
Then you're also like, yeah, it's awesome, right? Though, because like I don't promote anything that I don't like. So I get so excited when I see people get something that I know is helping me. You know, I'm like,
I think that's another good thing about this community is for the most part, we're honest, you know, like people aren't really like promoting stuff that they don't actually use in their shop or whatever, you know, or if something shows up that are, you know, everybody's promoting something, it's like very quickly being made fun of. So it's the things that are like actually being used, like you can tell, and it's like nobody's getting scammed, you know. It's not like, I don't know, it's pretty cool.
It is funny though when you know a company is actually launching something and everybody does start promoting on that one day. You're like, July 15th post. And you're like, but we only see that because we're following so many makers. Like the common person has no idea. They might see it twice that day, but us, we'll see every single person that they have doing that promotion. You're like, oh, this is still at Rockler today, huh? You know what I mean? Like,
we have a very different view of Instagram because we're basically just following other content creators. You step out of that and you're just a normal person that's like just a hobbyist or has some tools or just likes to look at things get made. Like their feed is all kinds of other stuff, and then that one person they follow pops up. And I don't know. Cool.
I get upset at myself because sometimes I forget about that though. And I'm just like, oh, I'm so sick of that, or I won't do that. And I'm like, well, my followers aren't seeing that all day either. Like, just because I'm sick of it doesn't mean like the world is sick of that, you know?
Yeah. I am very exhausted with Instagram and trending audio.
I browse with the audio off. And then sometimes I'm like, oh shit, did I share something inappropriate? Because because I'm not looking at the audio, I was like, I should really start listening to the audio more.
I have to be real careful with Rockler resharing anything. Like I have to listen to every single thing. And like that consumes most of my day is just listening to everything. Cause I got to hear if somebody's doing a voiceover and, you know,
if somebody
if somebody has a problem with something, like I want to address it and try and fix it. And, you know, I don't want to just, somebody's out there trying to use a jig and something's broken on it, or they just don't know how to use it. And they're like, man, this sucks. Screw Rockler. Like, no, like I want you to understand how the thing works. And I want to help you, you know, before you just give up on Rockler. Cause I don't know, maybe that's the salesman in me, the customer service side.
No, you want to make sure. Like I had somebody, they bought a wheel, like a carving wheel years ago, and they just pulled it out to use it. And it must have been something didn't happen right with like the hardening. and the burrs were falling off when they were carving, and they were like slandering
man.
Saburrtooth, like, what is this thing? I think I got a knockoff, but this is not a Saburrtooth disc. I've used them before. And I'm like, I'm so happy you tagged us. Like, I wish you just messaged us, but I'm so happy you tagged us because we got them like fixed and got them a new one. But like, I would hate to have somebody unhappy too, because they were having the worst experience. And like, Saburrtooth literally gives you the best carving experience. Like, that's why I'm so happy I work for them, because I actually do believe it. So like, if somebody's struggling and they're not enjoying that, like, I'm going to be sad because I want them to have that same thing I just did, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Using Saburrtooth burrs was definitely like, the only burrs I used was like in machine shops. It was doing metal burrs and stuff like that, you know? So I've been using burrs for like 18 years and all different types of die grinders and stuff. And then taking those to wood is not fun. It just needs to be made different. It doesn't, you can't, it like some of the concepts for metalworking apply to woodworking and vice versa. But like with burrs, it just, no, like wood and metal is very different. So like some of the only carvings things, but the first ones I used were just like Home Depot Dremel stuff. And I was like, this sucks.
It's the worst experience.
Yeah.
I've wanted to power carve for years, but I didn't know Saburrtooth existed until I met my maker community, right? I had that same issue where I used the Dremel burrs that came with the kit, and it was the worst experience. Like, I hated every second of it.
Yeah.
And I
having
was
good
like,
tools
why?
Makes a very different experience. You got to have the right tool for the job, for sure.
I'm learning.
But Saburrtooth is awesome. I need more of that. Like, I don't have a good hand tool to use them in. I've got like my crappy Dremel thing that I had that well before I was a woodworker, and I don't know why
everyone has that's like the one tool that we all have, like a Dremel, because you need it for something. So you buy it, and then now it's I have a Dremel. Yeah, I like the Works Tools ones, not just because they trust me to like advertise for them, but honestly, they're just so comfortable and they're interchangeable. You just like plug. I have multiple ones.
That's what you had at work or at Maker Camp last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of the first. I was like, oh, like this can be fun.
Yes. People looked at me like I was a weirdo because like Works Tools is not like, you know, this big trusted works like tool company. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're looking like, I got my DeWalt router, right? You know, I'm this or like that, you know, but this Maker X kit and their tools are actually really nice. You just have to embrace them and give it a try. It's just so comfortable.
Yeah.
It's just,
I'm going to have to get that. Kim liked it too. Like, that was her first time with carving. She doesn't really do much woodworking, and like, she's kind of the same thing. Like, she just loves to make stuff. She does painting and drawing, and she's amazing with ceramics and stuff. But like, that was her first experience wood carving, and she was like, this was really fun.
Your wife was a blast. Like, she was into it. I like, it's so funny because like, I remember her so much because of how passionate she was about carving. Like, she was hooked. You know, you like when someone catches the bug, you just see it in them. I was like, she loves this right now.
So that's what I should do. Is I want to get that. She turned a pin at Maker Camp, and so I don't have a lathe in here, and that's actually one of the things that I probably can't talk about that Rockler thing yet. I've been holding off for a reason.
Isn't it funny? Yeah, we have these things. Like, I have tools from Saburrtooth in the garage right now that I can't like use. I just keep them wrapped up because I'm like, don't even take it out of the package. Just leave it wrapped up until they say to carve with them, you know, like they don't exist. Yep.
Yeah. So I should get that stuff though, so that I think it would draw Kim into this space more.
So you're saying when you're stealing her wheel, she has something else to do.
Right. We'll trade spaces.
Yeah.
No, I miss that. Like, because we used to go to the same ceramic studio together, and like,
that's sweet. Yeah.
We both would just sit on a wheel next to each other, and we were in our own world making our own thing, but it was really nice to like just look over and she was there. And I miss that because like, I don't really have that out here. When I'm out here, it's me, you know? And so I think that's a good idea. Like, I want to get that, and looking forward to having a lathe in here so that she can get into that.
Great.
She wants a lathe in here, and she wants a scroll saw in here too. She wants to get into some of that stuff. So
scroll saws are so liberating. They are like one of the best tools to get somebody to start making.
That was the first tool I ever used.
Same. So jigsaw and scroll saw. Yeah.
7. And my dad just set me up on the scroll saw and I just started cutting out shapes and making things. Like the first actual woodworking project I made was like a little key holder. It just had like a dowel sticking out, but I carved the top and it said Star Wars. And I like
That's
cut
awesome.
out the shapes on it. I was like 10.
That's fantastic. That's a good project though.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't know what ever happened to it. It disappeared.
It got broken. Your parents were like,
yeah. My dad had a wood stove out there, so he was probably like,
yeah, exactly. Burn it. We helped clean our kids' rooms the other day, and like when they're not looking, we're just like grabbing shit and throwing it away. It's like 7 years are so messy and gross.
Oh yeah, my daughter's 7. Yeah.
They just accumulate.
Everything is a toy. I got to keep this. Like,
yes.
that is a smushed grape. Yes. No.
Seriously, everything is a souvenir and like it means the world to them. And it breaks their little hearts if they find out you got rid of it. But we totally threw away so much stuff the other day. Are you going to be at Maker Camp again?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Kim had a blast. Like that's one of my favorite things. Like she's not into like being on camera and making videos with her. And I'm hoping that her having her own art space. I mean, she made a page. It's Kimmy Creates Crap. It's hilarious.
I love it.
Yeah. The name was just too good. I'm like, you gotta make that. Like we were joking around and she came up with that. So I'm hoping like she'll lean into that a little bit more and, find some more of this community. And
yeah,
I don't know. So she went to Maker Camp with me and got hands-on with a lot of stuff. And she was like, I really like all this stuff. And as soon as we were checking out, she didn't even ask me. She just booked the same room for the next year. And I was like, oh, we're coming next year. And she's like, yeah.
That is what you call a baller wife move right there.
Yeah,
like, that's
it was
nice.
Pretty awesome. And she told me we're not flying this time. She's like, we need to drive so that we can be in the maker swap and we need to be able to bring more stuff home and take more stuff there. I was like, all right, cool.
How long is that from Michigan?
I think probably about 10 hours. Not too bad, but we're into like traveling and sightseeing and stuff. So we'll probably, take a little bit of a scenic route up. I'd like to hit Niagara Falls. Lately. I've never been there.
Well, that's cool. So yeah.
Drive up there and then back down, maybe.
That's perfect. Might as well take advantage of the trip.
We went a day early last year, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. Real close to Maker Camp is like a zip line area up in just up in the mountains and everything. And it's fall and the fall color, and like we did that zip line thing. And Kim's real adventurous. I'm glad that she'll do that stuff too. And like, she's terrified, but she still does it. And
yeah, that's dope.
She planned the whole thing. She's like, hey, we're doing this. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
But I do want to say thank you though for coming on, because I really want to get to know everybody who's running brands for people, because I think we need to get tighter with each other. We all can help each other out, and we all take on a lot of work all day. That like, it's a lot of work to manage these brands.
It's cool to have somebody that understands this side of the content creator world, and like, we don't have a lot of people we can talk to. So yeah, it's probably good that we have a support group. We do. We need a maker support group for all of us who we love it and we're embracing it all day, but sometimes we just get sick of seeing it and you just need to talk to each other about it. So seriously, thank you for coming on. But thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. You're welcome, man. Thank you so much to Adam for showing up and hanging out with me so I can get to know him more. Like I said in the beginning, I really wanted to get to know them. Him and his wife were so fun to teach how to power carve, and we just had a really good time. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to go show the sponsors of the show some love. For Saburrtooth, you can use Night Carver 10 to save 10%, and for Starbond, you can use Carver 15 to save 15%. All right, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.